Hey, and welcome to another installment of Catching Up with Chris, Jake, and Sam. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Jake.
And so, you guys, since the last time, there was a premiere of a very special new television series, Gotham. You guys watch it?
I did.
What did you guys think?
I really liked it. I thought it's got a good kind of a theme about it. You know, like I like the way it's shot. And the script seems to be pretty solid. I like the guy they have playing Oswald Cobblepot is great. He was probably my favorite part about the entire episode.
It was very good.
I do have a couple things that I didn't like about it, but I want to hear what Jake thought first.
Well, the first attraction aside of it from being a story about Gotham, was I like Ben McKenzie a lot, and he didn't have to win me over because
I loved him on the OC.
The OC, man, Ryan, man, and
Welcome
then
to Orange County, bitch.
right, and then Southland, which is I'm sure where they got him
As a cop,
as
sure.
a cop. He's
basically
great.
playing the same character.
Yeah,
Same type of character.
a much more troubled and in the end, not despicable. I would kind of actually. Yeah, I would say despicable character in Southland, which is a bummer, but he plays it really well. And then, of course, he voiced Batman in Batman Year One. So probably the only guy who will ever be Jim Gordon and Batman. I love the beginning. I don't like that it was the beginning because, again, we're going to talk about it. And we're not spoiling it for Sam because, one, he knows. And, he's probably...
Yeah, I'm the only one here who hasn't seen it, by the way.
But the Waynes are killed.
Yeah, shocker there.
In the very beginning, though.
Which would have been more appropriate as like a season finale or something.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Or, Chris was saying, to get to know them better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because
so their death has an impact.
Yeah,
Exactly.
everyone knows they're going to die.
Yeah.
I would love to actually care about their death.
Mm-hmm. I will say that it's the least stylized Wayne murder we've ever seen because in
it's pretty cut and dry.
It is. In Batman 89, it's like very shadowy and,
it's
and
like a flashback
slow-mo and
sequence.
echoey. And then even in... the Nolan one, it's not super...
In Batman Begins.
There's slow-mo kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, and there's very artsy angles
There is.
and
Now,
stuff like that.
this one is the most brutal. Also, we don't get Thomas Wayne with a mustache. Where's Thomas? I love Thomas
He doesn't have a
Wayne with
mustache in Batman Begins either.
He doesn't have a mustache in any of them, like any of the live-action ones. Probably because it's weird because he looks exactly like my dad in the comics, especially in Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, it's the way the murder is executed is interesting because it's very graphic and
kind of meaningless, or not meaningless,
well,
but like pointless,
it goes,
senseless.
It is.
Senseless.
It goes to the senseless thing. I think it's I liked it. I think it's the best of the. This sounds so messed up and weird. Of like the Wayne murders. Like I think it's the
You're
way
a terrible person.
Yes, of the live action.
This is the one that delighted me the most.
Yeah.
I was able to get off on these murders.
On BBC America.
I'm usually the one that takes it over the top. Chris, bravo.
Yeah. And but there's a shot where there's a shot. Jesus. There's two shots.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Where young Bruce, and I thought the kid who played Bruce is very good.
Yeah, no, he's great.
I can believe that this kid will one day become Batman. He lets out this scream, and it's not this. It's horrifying. Like it's a horrifying scream, and we never get that in the comics that I ever have read. And what you hear the scream you want to hear, even if it was in the comics.
But even like in like the movies and like the video games, it's always silent.
It's a silent thing, which speaks volumes in its own right.
Usually, like the only sounds you hear are the gunshots and the pearls hitting the
pearls
ground.
hitting, and like the steps. Come on, Jack, let's go. The scream is horrifying, and it's perfect because it's, as I've said a million times to anyone who I've talked about it, there's there's Gotham before the scream, and there's Gotham after the scream.
I mean, those are the shots heard around the world. That's what
changes everything.
Yeah.
The shots and that scream, because it's also that's the scream of any innocence ever leaving Bruce at that moment, because he's no longer this kid. And one thing that they do that's really great about in the pilot, Alfred is very stern. It has like the Cockney kind of accent, which some people like, some people didn't like. And there's a great moment in it where
son of the third Doctor too.
He
Doctor Who, not Doctor 2.
Yeah. And he
sorry,
just beating up Sam.
That was a stupid joke.
It was. And
It was Dr. 3, but continue.
it's Dr. Love. And
Dr. Feelgood.
I was. Never mind.
Dr. Fate.
The joke was 2 as in TOO, not TWO. God, Sam.
Silence.
Dr. Strange.
Yes, I fucking knew it. I knew you were gonna do it.
Dr.
Where Bruce, everyone shut up.
Dr. Dre.
Where Bruce, the fucking shit. Where Bruce,
Dr. Strange
tells off Alfred in the goddamn pilot of the show we were watching. He tells off Alfred, and it's the first moment where we get that, this is not that it's just a reoccurring thing, but Bruce is taking over. He's becoming not just angry, but he's
There's initiative there.
Yeah, exactly. And the best initiative he takes is, I've always joked, like, I already would love to see how the show ends. But at the funeral, Detective Gordon shows up, and he talks to Bruce, and they think they found the killer, and Bruce initiates a handshake. Like a little kid initiates a handshake with this detective, and they had this great moment where they're shaking hands. And, I made this promise, and I've done good on this promise. And I would love for the series to end with Commissioner Gordon being announced as a commissioner across, Gotham and the newspapers and everything. He's going up to the podium, and he's taking the stand, and he's, being announced as a new commissioner, thanking everyone, war on crime, blah, 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 blah. And he gets a text message on his phone from Bruce, and it says, meet on the rooftop. And he goes up to the roof, and you just hear, you don't see him, congratulations, Commissioner. And then he's like, well, thank you, Bruce, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I've always had that promise from the get-go that we're going to get, nothing like that's ever going to happen to someone like that ever again. And he goes, you're always a man of your word. And he reaches out to give him a handshake, and you see the bat gauntlet. Like, you see the glove, and they shake hands, and that would be like the way you end the series.
And then just...
Yeah. It sounded like an old 1930s, like, next week on Gotham. Yeah, will Vicky Vale be hit by the train, or will she be saved in time?
Stay tuned, true believers.
Stay tuned.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yeah.
True believers?
But... overall, but they introduced too many. They tried to introduce too many characters.
That's the thing I'm worried about. For someone that, again, who has not seen it, but from what I've seen from all the advertising, it's like, hey, I have a doctor that's really good at handling colds.
Yeah.
Man, I know this little girl that really loves plants, especially ivy.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
And the fact that basically the Joker shows up in the pilot as well.
One of the things that I read about is that they wanted to introduce a lot of red herrings for who the Joker might be.
Well, yeah, they wanted to do the different versions of the Joker's origin story, and
yeah.
this is the Killing Joke, where he's the shitty stand-up comedian.
But I do agree that it felt like they were like, oh, and here's everyone, here's all the players, we're gonna throw them in, and like I feel like as much as I loved Oswald, the storyline that they did with him through the episode, I thought that was too quick.
Getting rid of him.
Yeah, like he works for Fish Mooney, and he like betrays her by talking to the cops, and then like of course she finds out, and and then Falcone, who she works for, has Gordon and Harvey run an errand for him to kill Oswald, and of course,
and
Gordon,
also for Gordon to prove his his muster with everyone, that he's cool.
Yeah,
and it's cool because in that moment, hindsight's 20/20 in terms of like what becomes the Gotham mythos. He does what he thinks is the right thing, which most people would consider is the right thing by not killing Oswald. But if he did, that would have changed everything. You know what I mean? That's the interesting thing.
At least the criminal landscape of it.
It would have been like Jonathan Kent telling Clark Kent to keep his secret and let people die just so he doesn't use his power.
Man of Steel status.
Yeah, sorry. That's why I will forever hate Man of Steel.
But
I don't hate it, but that's certainly the big point of contention.
Yeah.
As we have discussed.
We have.
But
it's... I feel like it's going towards the rise of Gordon in the police department and the rise of Cobblepot in the criminal underworld. I feel like that's what it's going for.
That's probably going to be
dual
the main
narrative.
overarching narrative.
But they're also like, I mean, even the previews for the second episode, like Bruce is still a thing. Like he's still a main part of the story. Now I don't know if they're ever going to veer off from that, or they're just going to keep checking in on Bruce. But they're going dark.
Yeah, at some point he has to leave Gotham to train up, right?
Yeah.
It's not until his teens, though, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he's like what in his like.
Also,
he's like 8 now.
They make it seem like it seems like it's early 2000s. Like the way the cars, the phones, and everything. But if you saw the preview for the next episode, he's like in an Escalade. So I don't know if that's just a Gotham thing, because the Gotham setting feels very Tim Burton-y, very claustrophobic, dirty, and stuff. I love that Gotham.
Not basically Chicago.
No,
like
it's very. I mean, they do like the big city shots.
Which is clearly New York,
but
although I do love that they have like the New York skyline, but then they also pepper in their own buildings and like make it their own.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've read, I hope people give it a chance, because people are kind of treating it like it's a one and done movie. Like, oh, that sucked. And
yeah,
so
I saw a lot of negativity.
And so people are already like done with it,
which felt like I was watching a different show.
Which makes me think that like this is one of those shows that's like already dug its own grave, because everyone's given up on it. Like already, like it's been one episode, and I hope the second episode's good. I mean, granted, if the rest of the series is like the first episode, it's not going to be a great show. But I feel like it introduced enough to make me interested. And I liked Bullock. I liked Gordon. And I liked the Penguin. I liked the kid who played Bruce. I like Alfred. So I'm excited and ready for the rest of the series and to see where it goes. But I hope people give it a chance.
I mean, I've got it queued up on my DVR, so it's definitely on the watch list. There's going to be a shitload of DC Comics
can't
shows.
wait, man.
Yeah, Flash is coming out this month. Since now, we're in October now.
Yeah, and I was one of those nefarious people that found the pirated pilot of it, and I watched it. You guys refused to. You guys wanted
principle,
to, yeah. Me, I was Curious George.
Who's the man in the yellow hat?
Dick Tracy.
But Dick. I gotta say, it actually, like, I was a little wary on it when that got leaked. So I wanted to see it. Like, I wanted to be like, okay, am I rightfully worried about it, or is it gonna actually be good? And it actually was better than I was anticipating. So I'm glad that I got that, because I probably wouldn't have given it the same chance when just the pilot itself aired.
He gets his powers in season 2 of Arrow, right?
Yeah, mid-season finale.
Mid-season.
One of the best episodes of one of the best live action the DC things I've ever seen is the mid-season finale of season 2 of Arrow. It's where they introduce the Flash. Like I remember, like Barry goes back, and he's in the office, and the lightning strikes. I'm like, we're gonna see his fucking origin, man. Like, you were gonna see him get struck by lightning, and you do, and then you're like, that's cool enough. But then it cuts to present day Slade Wilson with an eye patch, like in Starling City, ready to kick ass. You're like, oh shit, they're already bringing like present day Deathstroke into it. That was an amazing mid-season finale, and they're re-airing the Flash Arrow episodes Wednesday.
Yeah, because he had 2 or 3.
In the day this thing posted.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I hope you're watching it now.
Yeah, we posted noon, so you got plenty of time.
Yeah, and then I think Flash premieres on the 7th.
Okay,
and
cool.
then I think, because I know Arrow starts up Wednesday, that would be the smart move to do.
The 1-2 punch, and then there's also iZombie and Constantine coming out.
I think Constantine's late October.
Yeah, and that's on NBC. Yeah,
I'm excited just because they showed Dr. Fate's helmet.
I mean, and the dude looks like John Constantine.
He does. Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't have the right accent, but
or smokes.
Yeah, but that's more of a network thing.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do it like Sherlock, where he has like nicotine patches.
Why can't he just smoke Morley's like everyone else?
You could show him putting out a cigarette or smoky environment. You just
you could do it. You could do it Mystery Machine style, where just every time they open up the car, it's just a puff of smoke.
Yeah,
in Scooby Doo.
Yeah, because we know that Shaggy's high the entire time.
Hot boxing that.
He's a pretty
machine.
capable stoner, if you think about it. People give Shaggy shit, but for something that's
he gets shit done.
Yeah. I mean, he's the only one that gets to team up. Him and Daphne are the only ones that get to team up with Vincent Price in the New Adventures of Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
Nobody.
No, I got you.
Okay, cool.
No, we're nodding.
Yeah. Cool.
We're nodding, which is very, very apropos of an audio podcast.
Yes. But something to kind of touch on Batman. You were saying earlier, both of you guys had kind of alluded that you guys find Superman as the more interesting character of the two.
I do. I mean, I've always when people say, well, Batman's the more relatable because he's human and Superman's an alien. How can he be relatable? And a lot of times,
that's not the thing that you should relate about.
no, absolutely not. And there's nothing I relate to Batman about at all.
You're not a billionaire playboy whose parents were killed before your eyes.
No, and I don't have the same motivations in life. I mean, I don't have the same motivations as Superman necessarily. I'm not trying to save the entire world, but I want to try to do the best I can with what I'm good at, and Superman's just trying to find his place in the world. There's nothing more human than that, and it's funny that for me the most relatable character in comic books is Superman. This alien from another world. Aside from I didn't, as far as I know, crash land from another planet that exploded.
Did you have your talk with the parents?
They haven't told me anything yet,
okay.
So I don't know.
Fair enough.
Maybe this podcast will, I'll fill you in next week.
Shed some light.
Yeah, I'll fill you in next week.
They finally show you what's hidden under that thing in the garage.
Yeah, if that's the case, then I'm the shittiest superhero because I have no superpowers. But and Batman. The human thing is it works when people write him as a human.
Yeah, I think the conceit is people are like, anyone can be Batman. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Not everyone can be Batman.
Not everyone can be Batman. Nobody really can technically. Well, I mean, some people, I guess.
If you had access to those resources,
the
sure.
resources, and you spent the time, and then maybe you could be Batman for a day and then die on the job.
He didn't die small. He died big.
He died big. But
it's a specific story.
I find
Detective Comics. Yeah,
I find Superman more interesting. I mean, I love Batman and Superman, pretty equally. But for me, Superman's the more interesting of the two because it's just his origin stories. I love his origin story because it's everyone has that. They're just trying to make their way in the world and be good at it. He just happens to be a guy who can.
Superman's a guy from Kansas that just tries to he moves to the big city and tries to find his place.
Yeah, I mean that's basically Superman in a nutshell. Except that he could also blow out suns like
that
a
just
birthday
happens
candle,
to be what
and
he can do.
And is super powerful. Can lift the weight of the world over and over again and not break a sweat.
I forget what issue. It's the issue after. So in the early '90s, when he reveals his identity to Lois Lane, which is a comic that we both own.
Yes,
Chris, you might have it too, where it's Lois shocked holding Clark's glasses.
Oh, it's a great cover.
Yeah,
she's looking at the glasses, and the glasses he's revealing his
and the
emblem.
reflection. And the following issue, he's like, Clark Kent is who I am. Superman is what I can do.
Oh, I've always believed that too. I think we've always talked about the idea of in some versions, there's the bumbling Clark Kent, the reporter, bumbling Clark Kent. There's Superman, and then there's Smallville Clark.
Yeah.
And for me, it's always been Smallville Clark. That's who he is. That's the thing I love
and they
about.
even touched on that a lot in the last season of Smallville when he's trying to figure out his how to disguise himself so that he can be Superman, the public image.
Yeah, and John Byrne's Man of Steel does that perfectly because he never had this idea that he was going to wear a suit. The S stands for Superman and become almost this brand that goes out so he can be Clark Kent.
It was the '80s.
Yeah, exactly. But it's that moment where he saves the space shuttle from crashing with Lois on board that they all want a piece of him afterwards. He's just a guy in normal clothes, and it's one of my favorite moments, even though it's so early on in this John Byrne run.
Flies away horrified.
Yeah, and he's sitting in the edge of his room, and he's like, they all wanted a piece of me, and that's where he comes up with the idea for Superman, which I love. That it's not this predetermined destiny that he's going to be Superman. It's yes, I'm going to use my powers for good.
That's something that always bothered me about the Christopher Reeve Superman, where he's just there's that time lapse where he's in the Fortress of Solitude learning all this stuff, and then
7-year time lapse, if I remember.
And then suddenly, boom, he's got the Superman suit. And
same thing in Man of Steel. Man of Steel was supposed to fill in the gaps, and the same exact thing happens. He learns about his history, and then the door opens, and he's in the Superman outfit, and.
I like how they did it in the New 52, where he starts out just with a t-shirt and jeans.
He's kind of man of the people.
Yeah, and then the actual the Superman suit is actually a
Kryptonian armor.
Yeah,
he gets it from Brainiac's ship or something.
Yeah, something like that. And that was that's the first time that the suit has really made sense to me.
John Byrne's Man of Steel is a good reference point. I also love in Mark Waid's Birthright, where it kind of combines that and brings a little more Kryptonianness to it. Because for me, The only thing that Superman should maybe get bummed, like obviously Batman's always going to be bummed out over his parents. Peter Parker's always going to be bummed out over Uncle Ben. Hal Jordan's always got so many tragic. For me, the cool thing about Superman is he didn't necessarily need the tragic background.
Well, yeah, I mean,
not every superhero needs one, and because it implies that only people with a shitty history could be superheroes, and it's like that's not always the case. I prefer the Kents alive, by the way, both of them.
Yeah, because it gives him something to go. It gives him something to go home to.
Yeah, that makes him relatable.
Yeah. Or at least Ma Kent.
Yeah,
at the very least.
If you want to have your cake and eat it too, fine. Yeah, Pa Kent can maybe die in a heart attack, and that can be his coming of age moment.
Well, because that's the one thing I think that Christopher Reeve, all those powers, and I couldn't save him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Superman can't save everyone.
Yeah, and every time they latch on to that idea,
and again, poking back to Smallville did that too. Where he has that realization that there are some things that you can't fix.
Yeah. But the only thing that he should maybe get hung up on is maybe the idea that he'll never know his birth origins, his Kryptonian origins.
Mm-hmm.
But that wouldn't be something that he just that isn't a motivation. That's a what if he thinks about in his quiet moments.
Yeah, in his Fortress of Solitude, and but he's not a guy who is exactly right. He's not a guy who's motivated by these
loss
sins of the past. Yeah. He's always moving forward. Yeah. And always trying to do better, and always trying to do the right thing, and and like I said, for me, the key to Superman is gonna, for some people who don't read Superman or only know him as a guy who's super powerful like a god, one of the keys is that he can't save everyone, and there's the tragedy of Superman to a point,
but that's the reality.
Exactly, it's the reality of Superman because he doesn't save everyone.
Yeah,
and
some people are like, if Superman exists, why does poverty exist? It's because he doesn't change the economy.
Yeah,
why does famine still exist? Because he's not what do you want? He's not Storm from the X-Men. Come on.
Yeah, Superman, does the best he can.
Yeah. Now speaking of moving on. And trying the best.
Great segue.
There it is. There's that Sam Stone.
That's what they called me in college. Segway, because I could only move 15 miles per hour. But
it's actually pretty good.
Wobbly back and forth.
Yeah. President Bush would fall off me because he'd turn off my safety mechanism. Why was he on me in the first place?
What is your safety mechanism?
Yeah. Oh, I think we all know what my safety mechanism is. But you gave True Detective another shot, didn't you, Chris?
Yes. After hearing you guys gab on and on about True Detective, I was
I
was like, all right,
I love that
fine.
show. I love that McConaughey.
He's so great.
He's such a fine voice.
He's such a pretty, attractive talent. His talent is what's most attractive about him.
Don't mess with Texas.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
So anyway, I gave it another. So yeah, I was 3 episodes in, and everyone's like, "Oh man, episode 4." So I was like, "All right, fine." It's on HBO Go, which I have access to. I'll give it a shot. I'll give it another chance, and it was watchable. It was enjoyable, but I didn't.
Did it pick up in the back half at all for you?
Yeah. Yes. I really liked it once it caught up to quote unquote present day.
Yeah.
I think it's episode. I think it was. I know we talked about it before, but episode 6.
Yeah.
One thing I would do if I ever was, and I'm sure I'll meet people and turn them on to True Detective. I think the one thing I probably wouldn't do is hype up episode 4 as much.
Sorry.
No, it's not. No, it's not. But I mean, because everyone, because it is a great episode.
I did love that tracking shot from a technical sense.
Just the cinematography and color saturation in general. In that
it's to me, it's a beautiful show to look at. But
story-wise,
I don't care about the story. I'm sorry. That's just me being me.
The thing is, I always thought that even for a show called True Detective, it's really offhand how they kind of solve that mystery.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of
It's more of a character piece.
Yeah,
which I loved,
and it was beautiful. But I couldn't get immersed into the story. Even on this go around, I was sitting there playing on my computer, I was checking emails and all kinds of stuff while I was watching it because I wasn't getting sucked into it. Every once in a while I would look up and be like, "Oh, that's pretty." because it's a really well shot show.
Phenomenal.
But it was like walking through a museum. Like you're like, oh, these are pretty paintings and shit like that. But
it's the most interesting way I've ever heard True Detective. It's like walking through a museum.
Yeah, it's like walking through a museum where you don't have anyone explaining what the story behind the paintings are.
It's like when you're watching like an indie film that has really great cinematography, but like that's it.
Yeah.
Style over substance.
Can I say something that might be like super controversial?
Sure.
Like super duper controversial. And everyone knows I love both shows. The finale, I like the True Detective finale better than the Breaking Bad finale.
Really?
Yeah. I felt
I think
I could get lost.
Yeah,
I could get sucked into Breaking Bad though. Like the story,
I thought was
there.
Breaking Bad is like still like I know it's been a while. It's been a couple weeks since I've finished it. And it's still one of the most phenomenal TV experiences in any kind of media thing I've ever had. It's worth all the hype.
Yeah, people were saying that finale was like the best episode of the series. And it's like no, it wasn't.
No, the penultimate episode.
Was that Ozymandias? No,
Ozymandias. Like that episode, still like I'm still suffering about that episode.
Yeah,
man.
Well, no, I'm just saying. I think you were the one that was saying it. Like the episode before the finale was better than the finale.
I like.
Was that you that was saying that, Sam?
Me? No, for me.
No, someone was saying that.
For me, like
whoever that was.
Ozymandias is 3 episodes. No, it's the not
it's
the second. No,
it's the premiere of season
episode 14.
Okay, yeah,
and it goes to episode 16.
So
well, like but I mean,
and
I was talking to someone else about it.
Favorite, but
you can't just watch a random episode of Breaking Bad. It's like you're just reading a random page of a book. You know what I mean? But like the Fly episode, I love the Fly episode.
It's a good one. It's a
Crawl Space. I know Crawl Space is your favorite episode. That's a phenomenal
Season 4,
episode.
yeah.
But for me, the way True Detective ended, the first season, the way it ended. I don't know. I'm going to mess up the line, but talking about the darkness and the darkness.
Yeah. This is the first time we really see McConaughey show like a genuine emotion.
Well, McConaughey gives like a little monologue before that, and for me, still to this day, no one I've ever seen on television gives a better performance than Matthew McConaughey in True Detective. And in 8 episodes, he's unreal.
Yeah,
it's all eyes on him.
I will give him every single bit of props,
every accolade.
But that show ends on a positive, where he's like, there's so much dark in the world, so much dark in the world. He goes, I don't know, man. Like he looks up at the sky and he's like, the light's winning. And, I think
there used to only be darkness.
And I wasn't expecting a show like that to end on such a great last line. And I'm so happy that like it became about their friendship and them coming back together as friends, not just partners. Because I was so kind of worried and bummed that the Harrelson McConaughey team up was done, and it was like this horrible thing, where this thing that happened in the past, and it ruined their friendship or them being partners. They beat the shit out of each other. But that's why I was so excited in episode 6, where it comes back to present day, and like he's like, "Hey, let's buy a beer." Or actually, you know what? You're gonna buy me a beer. And I was like, "Oh, I'm fucking in, man. I loved every episode, but yeah, I kind of took that one over, Chris. Sorry, I know you were talking about True Detective, but yeah, I like it a lot.
But yeah, I mean, would you? I mean. Yeah. So here's the thing. For whatever reason, not like it was advertised like this or anything, but like I like just looked at it, and in the back of my head I was like, oh cool, this is gonna be like a weirdo, like kind of like freaky, supernaturally kind of thing. And I feel like it kind of like started to look like it was going that way with like the weird little trinkets that were left at the murder scenes, the weird like carvings into the flesh or whatever the hell it was.
The way McConaughey sees the world.
Yeah, like I thought it was gonna be some like freaky deaky, spiritual shit or something like or like some kind of like cult ritual shit, and like it just started to veer away from that, and like that's where I like fell off, and then like I just couldn't get into something else, even the second time around, knowing full well that it wasn't that. In my head, like I just like quote unquote knew that that's what the show should have been about, because that's what that's what I do, because I'm a filmmaker as well. I always think about like, well, what would I do in this kind of situation, and sometimes my hubris wins out and is like, no, I have the right idea.
Take that, Nick Pizzolatto.
Yeah, you ain't shit.
But there are getting the interesting thing about season 2, which all of season 1's directed by one man.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2 is going to have multiple directors, so that'll be interesting to see if like the visual style will change up as it goes on.
Is it still going to be just 8 episodes?
I mean, yeah. All shows on HBO tend to, unless it's like Sex and the City, which went for like 18 episodes a season.
Anything to say about Sex and the City, Sam?
I finished it. I watched and I get, because I had started watching it. If you've been listening in, because I was like, well, it's such a big cultural phenomena, and what the fuck.
So
I'm just gonna
so are you a Samantha?
or
a Carrie?
If anything, I'm probably a Charlotte, but
I have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
which one's because that's not Kelly Preston. What's the one with like the black hair? Isn't there?
That's Charlotte York is played by Kristen Davis.
Yeah, Kristen Davis.
Yeah,
I like her.
Yeah,
she's cute.
That's the me apparently.
Oh, okay.
For you, but to get to that,
I like you, Sam.
I get why people like it. I will say that personally, I think it would be a lot better and a lot more interesting if it had a different main character instead of Sarah Jessica Parker. Her character's pretty weak, actually. She doesn't really.
Basically the same critique that I had for the Scrubs med school season.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I feel bad because I can't remember any of the characters' names, but like they focused on the girl who was supposed to kind of like be like, oh, she's just like JD, and like I was like,
We don't need a JD analog.
Yeah,
or at least not the focus.
And I feel, and I feel like
she was me miss JD.
Yeah, I think she was a fine character, but I don't think she needed to be the focus. I think they had a better character with the other guy who had like been through med school before. Who like Dr. Cox was like, you're my number one.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I think if it had been him,
my number one, a guy. That would have been weird if Dr. Cox is like Bob Gunn and like shoots him in the last episode.
Which is funny because he played a character named Bob in Office Space.
True,
he was one of the two Bobs.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of Scrubs, last night,
you were wearing your scrubs.
Yes,
and
you got
nothing
sponge bath,
sponge bath,
bathed. Fuck it.
No,
I guess whatever.
I try to like once a week. I had
sponge bath.
Have dinner. Because what I'm about to say next is going to just meld all those things we just said together. It's going to be really awkward and weird. Once a week, I have dinner with my parents. And,
sorry.
we were trying to think of something to watch, and we were having dinner. And I chose, we all love Scrubs, but I chose episode 100, which is the Wizard of Oz episode, which is like one of the best episodes of Scrubs ever. All the little nods to the Wizard of Oz and the moment when they all... the courage, the brain, the heart, and they're all trying to find the certain things. And JD gets his shoes painted red by the janitor. Like so many little things where, like, you get like JD dancing or singing the Toto in the bathtub.
Yeah,
on his day off, which is how I spend all my days off. It's the same exact way I start off.
Sponge bath.
Yeah, singing Toto.
I bless the rain.
And. I mean, that's just speaking of Scrubs. I mean, like that's one of those shows where some of the best episodes of TV I can ever remember watching live were Scrubs, including the season 8 finale is like one of the best finales.
Yeah,
I
mean, honestly,
I can remember watching.
I mean, I feel that way about like in terms of like other sitcoms. It's Always Sunny has always been consistently great for me.
Your neighbor,
Danny DeVito. Yeah. We'll show you that clip afterwards.
Yeah,
Chris.
Someone out there, hopefully that makes sense.
It's
one of the best clips of all time.
Seasons 1 and 2, or 2 and 3 of The Office.
Yeah.
For me, were like great American. Like
I always go
American
back and
sitcoms.
restart watching The Office. Just
Yeah,
it's so much fun to watch the show. Even the shitty episodes.
Yeah, 30 Rock was great. The first, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You don't like my third choice of 30 Rock, but the
can't get into it. Sorry.
It's fair. It's fair. But the
I never complain when I talk about how great Community is, and people are like, and I'm like, that's fine. I understand.
Yeah,
I love it, but I get it. It's not for everyone. Not everyone's a genius like me.
So what does that mean for 30 Rock?
That not everyone's an idiot like you. Oh.
Tell that to the Emmy board.
Cha-cha.
Bitch.
Did it win any Grammys like True Detective?
We'll see come Grammy season. Oh, that's a nice callback to episode 1.
Yeah, where you nominated True Detective for a Grammy.
Yeah, I have that power.
And speaking of episode 4 of that show, that won
the Emmy.
An Emmy.
It beat the
and a Tony.
series finale. And a Tony. It got the EGOT. It beat the series finale of
Breaking Bad.
For best dramatic.
Did it win anything else for not writer? It didn't win actor because I know Breaking Bad.
I went to Cranston again.
And
Everyone
Aaron
loves
Paul
Cranston. Yeah, but those were both very, very good shows. I did when I finished Sex and the City. I immediately chased it with season 5 of The League because that was on Netflix
season
now.
5's the best.
So good.
And it was
not
it
season
was
5's the best. The League, I love it.
Yeah.
It was the perfect way to chase.
Yeah.
Because they're both basically the same story.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And now
you got Ruxin talking about his meat clackers.
Yeah. Well, now they've added season 9 of How I Met Your Mother on Netflix, and so I've been watching.
Is that the final season?
That is the final season, and it's the first 4 seasons of that show were phenomenal. I loved those first 4 seasons, and then I don't know. I think they kind of lost their way. Season 5, they kind of got back in the groove for season.
New York
6.
groove. I beat you. I beat you.
It's because you're sitting there right in front of your microphone, whereas I
lean
away.
That's because I'm always getting ready to make a New York groove reference.
Yeah,
you know in the back of your mind.
That's what he waits for.
I just wait for it.
That's what he gets out of bed in the morning.
You 12 episodes
every morning. Every morning I wake up and the first thing that happens I go New York groove.
I'm back
in the New York.
You're going back in the New York groove. What, next week? No, you.
Oh,
the
me?
one that's actually going to New
Sorry,
York.
you can't just say you, and then you were staring kind of at Jake.
Chris looked at me, and I was like, I looked at the person, no one behind me, and I'm
sorry,
like,
so Sam's sitting next to me.
I have no New York trips planned.
I'm in the middle of a Sam and Jake Chris sandwich, because you named the sandwich after what's in the middle, not what the bread is.
Otherwise, it'd always be wheat sandwich.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Wonder Bread sandwich.
yeah.
Italian urban cheese sandwich.
But so I'm in the middle, just to draw this out. Yeah, for so Sam kind of like cocks his head to the side and goes, "You're going to be back in the New York groove in like a week or so, right?" And like I stared at him, and like in my head I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm going to New York Comic-Con." But I look at his eyes, and it looks like his eye line is looking at Jake, and I'm like, wait, is Jake going somewhere? Should I not interrupt? And Jake just stares at me.
Sam's staring at me. Chris is staring at Sam. I'm staring at Chris.
Yeah. Stare triangle.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Grant Morrison's staring at all of us.
Grant stares at everyone.
And Jesus.
Yeah.
He met him.
I met him.
Yeah.
I met Christ.
But
probably out of the 3 of us, I just made the worst Grant Morrison impression.
I remember when we first started talking about him, I half-assed it, and it was so bad.
It sounded like you were from like Liverpool.
I was like, I have got Morrison. It was the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going to New York Comic-Con the second weekend of Rocktober.
Which is next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ish, something like that. Yeah.
That should be good. I haven't been there.
Probably be fun.
Yeah. I'm going to try to go back to New York in like December because I always love the way that city dresses itself up.
Rock-sember.
Yes. For
Dick-sember.
Yeah. Oh, man. Then sign me up. Yeehaw. But
yeehaw.
Especially Wiener's Day.
But speaking of New York,
so dumb.
I mean,
I hate myself.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. What are you, my shrink now?
Yeah. Let me put on my glasses and my sweater vest and a pipe because I'm clearly Freud. The
worst ever.
Worst Freud. Where's your fucking Austrian accent? You fuck.
Well, I was saying that Freud's not that great of a guy.
I was more of a young guy myself, Carl Jung.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying when I was a young man.
Yeah. Oh, straight up. So My Chemical Romance now.
Yeah. Hey, that Gerard Way is a good comic book
I like
writer.
MCR. because I said MCR. That's I'm cool.
Yeah,
I've seen him live twice.
yeah.
I've seen him live once.
Okay.
But I saw him in Camden. Their stomping grounds.
Okay. I saw him at the Patriot Center and the Nissan now Jiffy Lube Live Center.
Ugh, I hate that new name.
Yeah, going to the Lube.
Like
live.
I get it that like it's no longer owned by Nissan, but like Jiffy Lube Live. Just
I wish
sounds
I would.
dumb.
I would rather it be owned by Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah, you would. Dick's Pavilion.
Sign me up. Tailgating down at the Dick's.
Jimmy Buffett's so awesome at Dick's Live.
Oh, all those parrot heads down at the Dick's.
Dude,
Oof.
they love that venue.
They do.
It's-
yeah, he was there back in August.
It's more of a tailgate than it is a
I
concert.
almost went to that show, but it was like $50 for lawn seats.
Dude, so one of my friends was telling me that he went just to tailgate. Like, he didn't have tickets. He was just like, I'm just going to go tailgate, and was hanging out. And like it's an all-day event for them. Like, the
We're
concert
talking about
starts.
Jimmy Buffett.
Yes.
Yeah,
The concert
Okay.
starts at like
cheeseburger in paradise
yeah.
status.
Yeah, volcano. Don't know where to go when the fall.
I just feel like
Jamaica Mistake. Last mango in Paris.
God.
License to chill.
Okay, so but he
I
was
know
like,
a lot
he
of
was-
stupid Jimmy Buffett songs, which is to say
all
of
Jimmy
them.
Buffett songs.
but
No,
so
except for
he-
Margaritaville.
He
maybe.
goes and tailgates at the Nissan Pavilion, and he was drinking with these guys. And these guys, by the time the concert was supposed to start, they were like, "Dude, we are so drunk, we're not even gonna be able to enjoy the concert. Here, have our tickets." And he got to go see Jimmy Buffett for free, just because he was partying with the right people. So if you like Jimmy Buffett, that's a great idea.
Yeah, just go to a parrot head tailgate.
Jake shakes his head disapprovingly.
I've been
I have no-
We could have spent that entire time talking about Kiss.
or
Well,
Prince. It's been a while.
That's right. Well, no, I'm saving Prince for next week.
Yeah, when his
because of
two
the
albums
double
drop.
albums.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's gonna be a.
Why don't we just play the albums like in our
Because we don't want our entire system to be shut down.
Hey, shut the fuck up!
No,
Why don't you let
even-
me finish?
No, because
why
I
don't
know what you're going to say. We're going to listen to it on our own, and then talk about the thing. Prince will know.
you do live commentary for the album.
Yeah.
Prince knows.
Yeah.
Just like Grant
it's just gonna be
Morrison.
Jake going, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, some of the tracks are on Spotify, so.
There's our Prince plug, brought to you by Spotify
Yeah.
and Jake. Yeah, but speaking of New York grooves, before we were sidetracked by Jimmy fucking Buffett.
Yeah, that was a waste.
Yeah. I mean, How I Met Your Mother does take place in New York, so yeah.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah. Though I've never, it's a weird part of New York.
Yeah.
You would never guess. It was like clearly like backlot Los Angeles studio
Yeah.
New York. But yeah, I mean, seasons 7 and 8 were kind of rough to get through.
Yeah.
Like if you had never, yeah.
Mm.
But those first 4 seasons, man, those were good too. Like in terms of like really good sitcoms that kind of like lost their way, or just really good shows. Like I remember you would argue. I mean, Community. Would you say Community got its mojo back when Dan Harmon came back?
A little bit. Having Dan Harmon back helped, but I think like when Dan Harmon got fired, and they had that all of season 4 without him, you could feel that the
Something
soul
was off.
Yeah, I watched the first episode with one of my friends who was also a huge Community fan, and we both kind of like the episode ended and we were both kind of like, oh, and like we talked about it and I was like, it kind of feels like it lost its soul, you know. And I think that's a great analogy for what happened. And then season 5 came out, and I was like, "Yeah, Dan Harmon's back!" And like, and all the episodes were better. Like, I would rather watch any episode of from season 5 than the best episode from season 4. You know, like it was better.
There's just an all-around improvement.
Yeah, but I would also watch any episode of season 1 through 3 before I would watch the best episode of season 5, because it was still the weakest of the Dan Harmon seasons, and I think that's because he had a brand new writing crew. Like he for whatever reason, they didn't get all the same writers from the first 3 seasons.
Yeah, they just never came back.
Yeah. And I don't know what the story is behind that. Like I just know that he literally got a brand new crew, and I think you could feel that.
They probably got gigs with other shows, and it's
Yeah,
hard to
probably
like.
what it is,
And they're
yeah.
like, well, I'm just going to stick with this.
Yeah, and of course there was also the problem of it being another half season, and Donald Glover getting other things that he wanted to do, so he was only going to be there for half of the half season.
Yeah.
And then Chevy Chase was gone, which I know for like Jake that was kind of a deal breaker.
Yeah.
For me, not so much, mostly because I follow like the behind the scenes stuff, so I know
You're
how
Team
difficult.
Harmon?
Yeah, I'm Team Harmon, and I know how difficult it was for the two of them to work together. And even like some of the other actors, they were like, "We love Chevy Chase, but he's
Volatile.
yeah, like
Abrasive.
he was difficult, and
Well, I agree with you though, because I loved the first 3 seasons of Community
Yeah.
as well. That was one of the few shows back during those first couple seasons where I would watch it like when it was on.
Mhm. Me too,
I wasn't
yeah.
watching it like on Hulu or on demand or something, or just on DVD. And even before Chevy left, I felt in season 4 I felt the same thing.
Yeah.
And I just stopped watching it,
Mhm.
and and it wasn't like I was like, this show's the worst thing ever. I just maybe one day I'll pick it up and maybe I'll try season 5. I don't think I saw a single episode of season 5. But
Yeah, I had this weird feeling when season 4 came out. I was like, I like Community. Like I like all these actors, so I want to watch the show, but I don't want to like. But I'm also pissed off that they fired Dan Harmon, so I don't want to help the ratings out. Like that weird thing. But I don't. But I also don't want it to get canceled. But I don't want them to think that they made the right decision. And like I was really like struggling.
I was surprised he came back, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, well, I don't anymore, but I used to listen to his podcast Harmontown, where he's very open and very honest about everything that goes on, and he was like, "Do I go back?" Like he actually, I think I want to say like he asked the audience. He was like, "I don't know if I want to do this. Like I'd love the money. Like it's a good paycheck, but." But like I'm worried, and then like he had this whole like he spent an entire episode talking about how he watched season 4. Like he waited until he had taken the deal to come back for season 5, and he was like, "All right, fine, I got to watch season 4 to
He was
find
not
out."
kind.
And no,
Really?
no, he was not. Like I mean, at the same time, he did kind of put a disclaimer. He's like, I get it. People did their hardest. They did their work, but at the same time, this was my thing. And watching someone else, watching someone else do your thing, like I forget exactly what analogy he made to it, but it was, I imagine it's somewhere along the lines of like being divorced and watching your ex-wife going out with another guy or getting married to another guy. Like it's, for the most part, it's probably going to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same analogy that Aaron Sorkin made. Like he watched the season 5. Aaron Sorkin, if you guys don't know, created, and I think we've referenced it before, he created The West Wing. He wrote all but one of the episodes in the first 4 seasons. He was the showrunner for those 4 seasons, and after season 4, he got into some dispute with NBC and ended up quitting the show, and then he wrote like The Social Network and got like massive bucks. He also did other stuff, like I think he wrote Charlie Wilson's War.
And Sunset, or Studio 60 on the Sunset
Strip, which only lasted a season, and then they make fun of it on To His Face in 30 Rock. And
I think he helped write that episode where they made fun of it like a lot.
They do. He does a walk and talk with Tina Fey, and she mentions it, and he's just like, "Shut up." But he genuinely tried to watch season 5, and he said he got about 6 seconds into the season 5 premiere, and then turned off the TV because he was like, "It was like watching somebody else make out with my ex-girlfriend."
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, that analogy is kind of like right on point.
Yeah.
And I mean, same thing with Community. That after season 4 of The West Wing, there is a dip, man.
Yeah.
There is something's
Yeah,
off.
I did when I marathoned it, I didn't know that he had left, but like I still like remember being like, "Oh, this is a different show."
Yeah, there's something different, and it's not just because Rob Lowe left too. It's like weird, yeah. But those first 4 seasons though, like top notch.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's right up there for great television for me too.
Yeah.
This is a TV heavy episode.
Yeah.
It's gonna be easy to write the copy for this
The
one.
TV one.
Yeah, the TV one.
I was
Yeah,
actually
that's right up my wheelhouse. TV and movies. That's what I do.
yeah, I was gonna call it. I mean, and you'll see the title if I decide to stick with it. I was gonna call it Gotham and Everything After.
That could be it.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
Kind of a nod.
That sounds like a good Batman storyline.
Yeah, well,
Like,
it was.
If we ever write a Batman book, we should.
I would love to. I mean, what's your like guys' favorite? Like, if you had to pick like 3 like Batman stories, what would they like be?
You mean like come up with a story and write it?
No.
or are you saying like Long Halloween. And
Yeah, like for me, it would be Long Halloween, Hush, and probably, I don't know, Black Mirror.
I would. Two out of the three are same with me. Long Halloween, Hush, and then probably like Dark Knight Returns.
Okay.
Year One, Nightfall, and I don't want to do another Miller one.
You could always do The Killing Joke.
Yeah.
Arkham Asylum.
I'm trying to think. I mean, it probably would be The Killing Joke. I thought the original question I thought you were going to ask was like, what would be the 3 characters you'd want to write for?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that too.
Well, okay, what are the 3 characters?
But I'd probably say The Killing Joke.
Okay.
Would you keep the same artist on all the books though? I mean, I know like for me, like Nightfall, there was like they were going all over the place.
Well, I always loved that Long Halloween, like Batman the Animated Series, had this timeless feel. Like it could be the 30s, or it could be now. Like the Bat Cave just happens to have a giant computer. That's what makes it current. And I thought Tim Sale really brought that to the Long Halloween and to a lesser extent Dark Victory. Because Dark Victory is a lot more brighter and more colorful. Probably because it has Robin. Definitely because it has Robin.
Yeah.
So it's almost like pop art in that one. Whereas, I don't know, Jim Lee does such a great job, and so does Francesco Francavalla on the Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Francavalla has a more kind of like noir look, whereas like Jim Lee's kind of like this blockbuster, like summer blockbuster artist.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd do Batman Year 100.
Oh, Paul Pope?
Yeah, that'd be my third one. I love that story.
Yeah. But, no, yeah, I mean, what 3 characters then, to touch on what you guys were thinking I was leaning towards?
Well, one that I think is one of like most underutilized characters nowadays, and hopefully makes it come back in a big bad way, and one of the best comic runs ever would be The Question. I think that'd be really cool. One, because you could do anything with The Question. Any kind of story, kind of like The Spirit. And I feel like Denny O'Neil must have been channeling some of that, because The Spirit's a character you can do anything with, tell any type of story, which was Will Eisner's point, I think. Of course, just because the characters meant so much to me, probably like Dredd and The Rocketeer, because again, as much as I love like the big guys like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, all those kind of guys, like on the page and the words and the art and everything, and just them in pop culture, like The Rocketeer is like number 1 easily. Like that's what started everything for me. I mean, of course, Batman and Superman, but like in terms of like imagination and not just having to be doom and gloom all the time, and having fun and enjoying the things that eventually became to me really loving the pulp characters. I think those would be fun. And just an extra one, Ragman. Just to redo Ragman. Do like a Frank Miller run on Ragman that changes everything.
I actually had in the back of my head a couple years ago, I actually had a Ragman story. So like he was going to be one of mine. And I had come up with you guys know I really love Deadpool. And I think it would be so much fun, like if you could honestly get in his head to write, you know, a Deadpool to run. Third, I think I would want to. I think I touched on this one of our last episodes, the episode where we were talking about Superman. Probably, like I would love to do like my own Superman, like like maybe like a standalone, like it's in its own universe thing, like not touched by whatever the continuity is now, because like I don't think I think with all the characters, like the 3 that I picked, there's not really much continuity I'd want to do. It'd be like a one shot or like a graphic novel thing of it, just telling a story. And I also I forget who it was, but I want to say it was one of the Fat Man on Batman episodes that I listened to a little while ago. He was saying, it might have been Jeff Loeb. Was talking about how like
Jeff Loeb being the guy that wrote Long Halloween.
Yeah.
If you don't know.
Sorry. Yeah. How like Frank Miller with Sin City got it right about how like he thinks that comic books should be released as just like boom, here's a story, and then nothing. No filler issues, no getting up to issue like 600 and stuff like that. Like just kind of be like, oh, here's season 1.
Marvel's
of
kind of
Batman.
doing that these days with all the relaunches.
Yeah, but and I like that. Like I And like I know like Buffy is doing it, you know, because it started as a TV show. Like they're kind of keeping that like feel of like, oh, here's season 10, here's season. I want to say like they've done like season 11, you know, whatever season they're on. Like I like kind of
doing the same with Smallville too.
Yeah, I like that idea of like splitting it up, and I don't know if they're doing like, you know, actually doing a break in, you know, in between like, you know, the summer where there wouldn't be new episodes. But I like that idea. Like I that's how I would want to do it, because I feel like when you are just like, no, we have to have an issue every month, no matter what, then you get like unnatural stretching of stories, and then like when you have, you know, things where
like
they don't quite
and stuff.
Yeah, and then you have to have like filler issues, because you're like, well, this story ends here, but we need 2 more issues before, you know, X event happens to have a tie-in. It's like, okay, well, here's a pointless story, you know, and like I don't like that. You know, I would love for everything to be important, you know.
Well, the great thing about continuity really is when it comes down to it, continuity is what you want to make of it. You know what I mean? There's been so many origin stories of Superman, but for me, it's the John Byrne Superman. You know, it doesn't matter what they say is official. Now, yes, if you want to follow a story by the book, but you know, whatever your favorite stories are,
cooking by the book.
Yeah, whatever you do you know, whatever your favorite stories are,
for all 5 people that get that reference,
you can, you know, you can piece together, you know, whatever continuity you want to make of it. You know, it really in the long run doesn't matter. You know, because someone says it's not the point, you know, it's not continuity anymore, it doesn't mean anything, really.
Yeah, take that, Dan Didio.
Yeah, well.
Or Didio, or whatever.
Dido.
Didascatal. For all the people that get that reference, too. It's from Doug.
Oh, yeah, the
ventriloquist episode.
Ventriloquist dummy.
Didascatal.
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
You know, I think... the
earlier reference that I made was from Lazy Town. That's okay if you guys don't get that.
Yeah.
I hear. That's a faint laugh. Someone someone. Okay.
That one person.
Some guy.
The person that wrote our iTunes review.
Some guy in Iceland just goes, "Ha ha! Someone watched that show."
But yeah, weren't you kind of perplexed by the iTunes review?
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know.
For those of you that don't, just
good families don't.
For the choosy moms choose Jif.
That's a reference to the book Good Families Don't, and the thing they don't do is fart. But continue.
Which is bullshit.
That was the moral of the story. 'Cause all families fart.
For those of you that don't know or don't fart,
a family that farts together stays together.
We're on iTunes. We're available on iTunes. And I was like, right after we recorded last week's show, I feel bad, or I'm kicking myself for not checking before we did our last week's show. But right after recording last week's show, I went on to check our iTunes thing just to make sure that everything's looking fine. And I realized that we have a customer review. We have a 5-star review from
5 Michelin stars.
Yeah, from Shifty Powers. Is that?
That's
Shifty Powers, and it says
the best porn name ever.
I know. Wait until you hear the review. It's kind of porny too. I mean, I love it. You know, it's great. But
I love porn.
That's not the review. The review goes, "I like handsome men speaking, so why not?" Sorry.
Do the NPR voice, Chris.
I have to calm down for that. Hold on. I'm giggling on the inside. Stop looking at me, Sam. Sorry, the way that Jake just like whipped his head around made me giggle. I have really good peripheral vision, guys. God. I like handsome men speaking, so why not this? Yeah, sorry, it's really bad font. Great personalities about geekery. So yeah, that's our 5-star review, and I love it.
It sounds like a fucking Tinder profile.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
That is our Tinder profile.
Damn right.
No, so thank you, Shifty Powers, whoever you are.
Thank you.
Our one and only review, or rather, our one and only written review, the one that we have proof that we can, screenshot and be like, look, people like us.
Yeah.
Everything else has been like, hearsay.
I've seen stuff on like Twitter from like Corey.
Yeah, we're going to give a shout-out to our friend Corey,
yeah,
who's a friend of ours who actually works at Image Comics.
The third largest comics publisher in the United States.
That's right. So whenever you get a Image comic. Check it out. First page, head of retail sales. What's her name? Her name's in it, which is awesome. But anyway, she's doing big, bad, wonderful things.
They
with
created
Image
that
Comics.
job for her, I think.
That's right, and she totally deserves it. And she's
Yeah.
been someone who's been listening to us, and we're glad we can help her make her commute to work a little more enjoyable and silly.
So
and
this
weird
one's for
and
you,
wild.
Corey.
This one, yeah.
Yeah.
This one's for you, Grant.
And yeah.
He listens to all of our podcasts, too.
So
Or Morph. This one's for you, Morph.
so thanks for listening.
Thank you, Corey.
Yeah,
Thanks, Corey.
Keep up the good work at Image Comics.
Keep
I
it
read,
up.
I read like 7 and 9 of your books.
7 or 9?
Seven
Seven
of
of
9.
9.
Oh,
yeah.
7 of 9.
It's just that one
It's like
solo
7 or
7 of
9,
9
and there's
book.
one I don't remember.
Yeah. seven of 9. The Star Trek Voyager character introduced, not unlike Worf, to boost ratings for that show.
Because she was in a skimpy, skin-tight suit.
She made the Borg sexy.
Yeah. And then the Borg Queen made the Borg sexy.
According to everybody, but I'm like, that really isn't. They're like, oh, she
Just
made, yeah, she made
she
the
had
Borg
cleavage.
Yeah,
Not
wow.
really.
I mean, the first time you see her, her top, like her cleavage half up, is attached to a robot body, and it's like that's not sexy at all.
Maybe not for you. Maybe you should open up your horizons.
I know, man. Jeez. Otherwise, I'm just gonna be talking about dicks all the time. I'm just gonna
Yeah, sorry that it wasn't another Borg dude.
with his bottom half robotically attached.
just like Kenneth Branagh's lower half in Wild Wild West.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
that's an idea for you guys rebooting Star Trek. Give me,
JJ.
Where's the Borg King? That's actually, if I had to write Star Trek, there's 2 stories I would write. The original crew coming across Borg, like the Kirk Spock crew coming across the Borg, and what does the crew of the Next Generation Enterprise do during the Dominion War, which is the central conflict for the last half of Deep Space Nine. Because those are 2 big unanswered... 2 things I'd want to see is, when it comes to my writing, this might sound like a little like self-centered, but I would write the stories that I feel like I would want to read. Like the questions that I would want.
I think that's what a lot of writers try to do. Like especially ones that are like well established, who have gotten past that like pandering, like oh I need fans. Like then they realize like the best stories that they write are the ones that they're interested about. And like I would too if I were going to write a Star Trek story. Like I would also do the Borg. I don't know if I would do original series, but like the Borg are my favorite. Enemies.
They're basically robot zombies in space.
Yeah.
Which is like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, and now thanks to The Walking Dead, I'm back into zombies.
That's another show you gave another attempt.
Yeah, I'm halfway through season 3 right now. Originally, I had stopped. I was watching it live when the first season came out, and I had stopped after
season.
4 episodes. I'm going to disagree with you. I mean, granted, I haven't finished it yet, but so far, season 3 is my favorite.
You're not going to say that when you finish season 3.
It kind of season 3 and 4 kind of whiff on the endings.
Do
Yeah.
they?
Oh, yeah.
So.
Like I love the season 4 mid-season finale, which should have been the season 3 finale.
Yeah. I mean, granted, my favorite character and performance is David Morrissey's Governor.
I love him so
But
far.
what they do, it was season 3, some of it's not his fault. It's not his character either. But
Yeah.
some stuff is just weird.
By the way, real talk, and feel free to make fun of me all you want.
Nerd.
But
Nerd.
but I did not know that David Morrissey and Morrissey, the singer of the Smiths, were different people. I thought they were the same guy.
Thank God, because Morrissey is a raging prick.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know that much about Morrissey,
Raging prick.
other than the fact that he was the lead singer of the Smiths.
Yeah. Raging
and,
prick.
And so I was like, I wonder what the transition from singer to actor was for Morrissey. And I look up Morrissey, and it pops up this Wikipedia for Sean Patrick Morrissey, I think is his name, the singer.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
like I'm sifting through it, I'm like, when did he change his name to David? And why does it not have anything about acting? I know he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's been in an episode of Doctor Who. He was in the Blackpool. Yeah,
I believe David Morrissey's Twitter is him wearing the Mickey Mouse gloves, giving you the finger.
Nice. But yeah, so then I'm like, wait a second. Let me Google David Morrissey. And it had a picture,
it's the guy
and it had a picture of Sean Patrick Morrissey, on the Sean Patrick Morrissey thing, and they look like brothers because I assume they are. It didn't actually explicitly say, but I assume they are, since they were
I've never heard.
Are they not even related?
I hope not.
I don't think so.
They look similar. Like the picture for Sean Patrick Morrissey, I was like,
I mean, I've never heard.
All white people look alike.
I've never heard.
I mean, this is on my cell phone, so who knows? Maybe it was that. But still, whatever, guys. But So now I know.
Yeah.
And knowing's half the battle. G.I.
Joe.
And now we can't air this episode.
Yeah. Well, it has to be at least 4 seconds of a sample, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Legally, yes.
So what were anyway, speaking of that, I have nothing to do with anything. What were the 3 characters you would write, Samuel?
Yeah.
Besides Borg, Dick, Star Trek.
Borg, Dick, Star Trek. Oh, man. God, that's the story people want.
By people, do you mean you?
I'm a person. I'm a person, too. No, I mean, I would love to.
A lovely person.
If I had to write a Batman book, it would probably be a Batman team-up book, because I don't necessarily want to get in Bruce Wayne's headspace. I want to see how other people see Batman.
Speaking of which, I know you loved the cartoon, The Brave and the Bold.
Sure, yeah.
Teams
up with Haunted Tank. What's not to love?
And Space Ghost.
Yeah. Oh God. Wow. You just gave me a boner. Continue.
Won't be the first time, or wouldn't be the first time, and won't be the last.
Be the last.
The first episode of the new season of Arrow. I don't not the first episode. Sorry, I didn't finish the thought. But the first episode where the Flash comes back and they team up is being called The Brave and the Bold.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it used to be The Brave and the Bold used to be a comic book. The original volume of The Brave and the Bold was a Batman team-up book, which is where the animated series gets its inspiration from the Silver Age. Like, it'd be like, hey, look at Batman team up with the Elongated Man. It was like, cool. This is the best that we have to offer. And
well, Brave and the Bold's where Green Arrow gets his remake or his redo and his Errol Flynn style Neil Adams design that everyone knows.
It's also where the Justice League came from. Justice League of America started out in the Brave and the Bold, where they take on Starro, the alien starfish. But I don't. What the fuck was I talking about? Jeez.
You'd want to write a Batman
people
team-up book?
You would write a Brave and the Bold, essentially.
But I think now more commonly, it's also. I remember Mark Waid wrote an installment where it was a Flash and Hal Jordan Green Lantern.
Yeah, now it's just kind of like, people teaming up.
Yeah, in the DCU. But and then Superman had his own team-up book around the same time called DC Comics Presents,
which they also rebooted for the New 52.
As they renamed it DC Universe Presents, and the first installment was like Dead Man.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like, here's some side characters that no one really cares about.
Here's a character that can't support his own regular monthly title.
Rose Thorn.
Yes, the second title I think was written by Dan Didio. It was Challengers of the Unknown. Challengers, the crazy thing is, if I really put my mind to it, I have a story. God, I'm going to sound like a douche. I really have a story for like everybody.
Douche.
Oh my God, what a douche.
Yeah.
I can just hold on, let me scoot over so your giant head can fit on this couch. Ladies.
Anyway, we've already talked about the boners.
Boner.
We're at 2 on the tally, at least, for today.
It's funny because Jake and I were joking about how there was at one point Sam said boner like once, or like a bunch of times in like one of our commentaries, and then now Jake and I are just like, Sam says boner all the time, and like we're saying it more than Sam does.
Egging me on, practically begging me to say boner, and
throwing boners in your face, and just like
which would do the trick, to be honest. But
I love that you just play with it,
just roll with it. I mean, to touch on Ragman, what I would do with Ragman is I would take his power and make it his weakness at the same time. So he's empowered by all these souls.
Poor Ragman.
But he's haunted by them.
ragging on Ragman.
He's haunted at the same time by all these souls.
So like they're like constantly being like, "Oh, let me free!" and shit like that.
He'll get like flashes, like whenever he tries to sleep, he'll get flashes of like their memories because they're part of him now.
I feel like that's kind of Ragman.
Yeah, but that's something I would really kind of key in on.
Yeah.
With Superman, it would, like Grant Morrison's approach, I wouldn't write, hey, Superman fights another giant fucking robot in the streets of Metropolis. It would be, hey, what is Superman like emotionally? Like, what is the big reason in Grant Morrison's thing, like All-Star Superman, like his greatest power becomes his greatest weakness because he gets cancer from the sun.
Mm.
He gets overloaded, yeah. Like the big reason I love Superman Returns, and Jake always kind of rags me on this, like you're not selling this well, is
because it's a terrible movie. No,
fuck
you
both. His biggest obstacle isn't Lex Luthor continuing to like eat up scenery. It's a broken heart. And I know maybe for some of you, like, I don't want to see a Superman movie where his biggest obstacle is a broken heart.
You'll believe a man can cry.
Yeah.
Well done.
I know, right? High five myself.
But no, that for me, that's an interesting story. Certainly an interesting Superman story.
For like 15 minutes, maybe. Not 2.5 hours.
Fine.
I got a plane and now I'm sad.
If I was writing an X-Men story, I would love to see the X-Men. Basically, it would be a jam session. I would like start out with the Sentinels, and then they'd maybe take on like Mr. Sinister,
and then they'd be grooving with Fish,
and then they take on Magneto, and then it all builds up. That earlier one-off against Sinister, he was getting Apocalypse ready, and so they're forced to team up with Magneto and the Brotherhood of Mutants to stop Apocalypse. That's the kind of X-Men story I'd want to read. Like, it would touch on all the things that I love about the X-Men as a fan. If I was writing a Spider-Man story, it would be fucking like, it'd be fucking
bananas.
It would be fucking
That's
bananas.
a classic Sam thing.
Yeah, this thing
Speaking in Sam business. My Spider-Man story would be fucking bananas. Anus.
Yeah, it would be like,
Spider-Man would start shooting webs out of his boners and anuses.
It would essentially
anuses.
That's how spiders do it. It would be a gang war in New York, but the gangs, it's Spider-Man. The gangs it wouldn't be rival gangs so much as rival Sinister Sixes. And I would call it Sinister 666. And it would be 3 Sinister Sixes.
The number of the beast.
Yeah.
And it would be like the Warriors.
Yeah. They dress alike too. Like Kraven the Hunter. Kraven the Hunter dressed up as a New York Yankee.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like the kind of shit that, so yeah, I think that if I really put my mind to it, yes, I could write a Challengers the Unknown story. Yes, I could write a Dial H for Hero story.
So we asked
I'm
Sam.
so cool because I'm Sam Stone. I can write anything.
We asked Sam what 3 characters he would want to do, and he gave us like every character in the Marvel universe.
I mentioned DC
and DC.
too.
Every character in the
You're
Marvel
gonna write
DC
Spawn
and
too?
DC.
Yeah.
What would your Spawn story be?
My Spawn story would basically be like you would write Spawn, basically how you'd want to see Batman, basically like as a more Punisher type figure.
So you would write him like Punisher.
Except he wouldn't be.
Sorry, I said the word punish.
But like when I say Punisher, I'd mean like more like in terms of like lethal force. Like he doesn't shy away. If anything, he kind of like. It's almost like what if Batman was the Joker, but just to bad guys.
So what if Batman was Dexter?
Yeah, but because Batman, to a certain degree, he's not going to kill the people that he's hunting. They have to know that at a certain point. Like in The Dark Knight, like Eric Roberts is straight up like, hey, you don't kill people. And he's like, yeah, I know. And then he breaks his legs. But like Batman is just going to beat the shit out of you. You should be scared of guys like Spawn and the Punisher that just kill you, no questions asked.
Yeah.
That's what would be terrifying. So it'd almost be from like almost a criminal perspective, right? Like these guys being hunted by Spawn.
Well, that's what always kind of bummed me out about like when they kind of turned the corner, did a 180 on Moon Knight, where like he had no rogues gallery because he kept killing all of his bad guys.
Same thing with the Punisher.
Yeah.
The only recurring villain the Punisher has is what, Jigsaw?
Jigsaw, yeah, really. I liked when Moon Knight was just, and people, I always saw it as a lazy comparison when they said he's Marvel's Batman. The only thing they have in common is they love themed weapons. Like one's obsessed with the moon, everything's going to be crescent shaped, and everything's going to be bat shaped. you could say the vengeance thing, but really their motivations aren't similar whatsoever.
Yeah. Spectre wants him to see him coming.
Yeah, exactly. And I love
that's why he wears white.
Yeah, and Moon Knight for me way crazier than Deadpool. Like way crazier.
Well, it's a different kind of Deadpool's straight up.
Well,
Deadpool's manic.
Deadpool's the kind of like, hey, it's funny, hey, let's all hang out and make jokes and blah blah blah. And then you get Moon Knight, and Moon Knight like will be talking to air while you're in a car with him, and you're like, who the fuck are you talking to, dude? And he's like, oh, I'm talking to, blah, blah, blah. I'm wearing someone's face because,
How many Moon Knight issues are him talking to his different personalities, and then you get that last panel, it's just him alone in the room.
The Maleev Bendis Moon Knight?
Well, I mean, even more than that. I feel like there's an Ellis issue where that happens.
Well,
I feel like there's like Doug Monick issues where
but
that
it's
happens.
more of like, he gets lost in the... And the great thing about Ellis is like, he's like, well, if everyone got lost in like the different people they were playing, every actor would be fucked. But, you don't catch multiple personality disorder, and so that was kind of a cool thing in the Ellis run where it's like, you're not crazy, dude. Like,
what I did love, and I know this is going to kind of contradict what Chris said earlier. I personally I love big bombastic story arcs, but I also love the one and done stories too.
Oh yeah,
you can just kind of pick up and read, and it's like, oh, this is like quintessential. Like when Paul Dini was writing Detective Comics, and it was just like one-off Batman stories, and it was like, oh, this is pretty. Or when Greg Rucka was on Detective, and it was just one-off stories.
When they're good one-off stories, I mean, like when they they can tell a story in the 21 pages or so, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of those out there.
Like I love the anthology books, like Adventures of Superman.
Yes.
Now,
even though it was weird, people were like, "Oh, this is," when I get to the end of it. But the whole Jeff Lemire Adventures of Superman, where the kids are playing Superman, and Superman's like sitting on the barn watching them play Superman, which is kind of sweet. And then of course you get those fuckers who are always like, "Shouldn't he be stopping crime?" And it's like, dude, it's a fucking story, man. Like it's a sweet moment. Like Superman can have that kind of story.
Can sleep.
one of my favorite one-off kind of stories. It's funny is when there's two kids playing in a farm, and one of them I'm trying to remember. I think one of them is like getting beat up or something along those lines, and the Rocketeer shows up. And the Rocketeer, the Rocketeer's flying around, and a kid tries to shoot him out of the air, and the other kid, one of the other kids comes and saves the Rocketeer, and they fight the bully and they shoo him away. And the kid comes up to the Rocketeer and he's like, "You can fly?" And he's like, "Yeah, I have this rocket pack." He's like, "I always wish I could fly. That's one of my dreams. I wish I could fly." And so the Rocketeer takes him and he flies him around the farm, and the kid yells, "Up, up, and away." And when he lands, he's like, "All right, see you later, kid." And he like rockets off, and the kid puts on a red cape and starts running around the farm. And he runs home to his ma and pa, and he goes, "Ma, pa, I just flew for the first time. It was amazing." And they're coming home from the grocery store, like, "Oh, Clark, you're so crazy." And for me, like, that was two of my favorite things of all time. The Rocketeer, even though it's not continuity, whatever, the Rocketeer gives Clark Kent his first flight, which is one of the coolest little stories, I've ever read. Like, just perfect stuff like that.
It's great. Yeah. But so in conclusion, Chris loves a bunch of shows, still isn't come. So how are you? Are you resold on The Walking Dead?
Yeah, I'm. I don't know what it was, but for whatever reason, this time around it just clicked, and I'm enjoying it. And it's got me back into zombies, which is nice because, as we touched on at some point, like I had kind of fallen out of love with zombies.
Oh,
yeah, and
breaks the heart.
Yeah. Because then
it eats it.
But I mean, mostly because I just feel like Hollywood doesn't know what to do with zombies. And even though I'm not a fan of like virus zombies, which is what The Walking Dead is,
World War Z status.
Yeah, basically. I do like what is going on with the story,
Yeah. Though you said that, if I remember correctly, you were not a fan of the opening titles.
Yeah. Oh my God. If anyone who follows me on Twitter the last couple days, where I've been tweeting about The Walking Dead, I think I did like 5 tweets in a row, like just talking about how I hate the titles, the first 2 seasons specifically, because they switched it up for the 3rd season, but I don't think the names like pop up and pop away at like good times, or like or the fact that it just kind of like it's like, oh, it's here and then it's gone, and then it doesn't interact with what's going on the screen. Like, and I think a title sequence, that's kind of like important, that it kind of has like a similar flow, you know. And then the title card, The Walking Dead. Like, the first 2 seasons, it pops up one word at a time, and it pops up out of order, which could be fine, but like they didn't really do anything with it. And also, like, the background shifts when The pops up, but it doesn't shift when Walking or Dead pops up. And like, I was like, wow, in my history editing stuff, like, I've had an error like that and I've fixed it, and it looks like someone just fucked up and didn't bother to fix it. Then in the 3rd season, it just pops up as one phrase all at once, and I was like, okay, that's better. But like, the names, I think, still could use some work in season 3. And boo. And you're on AMC, come on.
Yeah, they do anyway. Yeah.
One thing I want to touch on before we head out real quick.
Butts.
Yes. This obviously, you know, is a Wednesday podcast, but at the time of the recording, Derek Jeter played his last baseball game ever today.
Oh yeah.
And in Fenway Park, and got Fenway Park to chant for the Yankees and for Derek Jeter, and
he got a RBI single, right?
I think so, yeah. I haven't checked his like the latest. I was you know, at the time
his
he was playing
at bat.
Last at bat, and then he got a hit on his last at bat. But for his last game in Yankee Stadium, in the bottom of the 9th, tie game, he hits the walk-off single.
Yep.
Which is phenomenal. I mean, that's
storybook way to end it.
That's something sports will forever. You know, Ted Williams, last at bat, hits a home run. You know what I mean? Like, this is stuff that like, you can't come up with this. And it's funny, I was talking to my dad about it, who's like a lifelong Yankees fan, biggest baseball fan I know. And he was just so ecstatic about it. Like, just, it was the greatest thing in the world. And even Red Sox fans. I mean, you're a Red Sox fan and you loved it, you know?
I'm a
Well, I think you're more of a Red Sox fan to piss off Yankees, right?
More or less.
Yeah,
more or less.
That's what you and Josh have in common.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm a DC sports guy, and I'm so happy that both my teams are in the
Yeah.
playoffs, and leading their respective divisions. Nationals leading their league, but yeah, I mean, Derek Jeter was always a class act.
Yeah.
You know, he's the captain for a reason. And think of how many seasons did he play?
Like 20. Like basically, someone had a stat where you would have to the amount of at-bats he had in the postseason was a full season of baseball.
Yeah.
Which is astounding.
Yeah.
And the fact that you would have to be almost 50 years old to have remembered a time when the Yankees won the World Series without Derek Jeter.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He broke the curse.
And, you know, Jeter is
not as big as the Bambino curse.
Well, I mean, they had a couple.
He broke the slump.
They had a decade or so that was just god-awful baseball. But, like, for him to go out like that in Yankee Stadium and to play as, he's such a class act that, like, his last game at shortstop is Yankee Stadium. He wants that to be his memory, which is perfect. And, but still, to go to Fenway Park and still play because people want to see him. Because people were saying, "Oh, you should not play anymore after Yankee Stadium." It's like, no, like people are going to come and pay money, and he still loves baseball. You know, let him finish.
Yeah, it's not. It's not just a glamour spot.
Exactly, and the fact that he last time he ever had his name announced, was at Yankee Stadium, the classic. You know, now up number 2, Derek Jeter, number 2. You know, like he wanted that to be the last memory he had of that being announced. With the classic, announcer whose name is, of course, escaping right now.
But
to be at Yankee Stadium.
If he's been playing at least 20, that means literally a generation's worth of kids have looked up to Derek Jeter as like one of the premier ball players to ever play the game.
Like in a time when baseball is ridiculed by the steroid use.
I think he started right after the strike.
Yeah, it's like 96. I mean, 95, 96 is rookie year around there. But around the time of the strike and the steroid abuse, the one constant every single season. Every time you couldn't look at something Jeter did with disdain unless you're like a Red Sox fan or like your team was beaten by the Yankees. But like
my love of the game exceeds my disdain for the Yankees.
Perfect way to put it. Because like what is it? We just rewatched Moneyball. How can you not love baseball? How can you not be romantic about baseball? That's the one thing I thought about when Jeter hit that walk-off single.
It's like I said, storybook way to end a storybook career.
Yeah, and like one of the all-time good guys in any sport.
Yeah,
and so it's really weird. I don't think it'll officially hit me that Jeter's done until opening day next year, when he's not going to be
When
on.
he's not playing.
He's not playing.
Not on the roster.
I mean, it's not the last time we've ever heard of Derek Jeter. Obviously, he's going to be first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to hopefully have something to do, stay in touch, or do something with the Yankees, and he'll be around.
He'll be like what Jim Palmer and Cal Ripken are for the Orioles.
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, he'll be around. But did you see the commercial he did where he's walking through New York?
Yeah,
that was a great commercial.
That's a.
And so he's just one of those guys. People always
finally a lump in the throat that is somebody's dick. Yeah.
And I was gonna say, it's
such a Sam
term
thing to say.
It's thrown around all the time, but like a dude who transcends the sport he played, like absolutely. So, it's been a hell of a ride, Derek Jeter, one of the all timers, man. And we don't talk about sports too much on this podcast. I know.
Thanks for all the memories and keeping the
absolutely.
game alive for a generation of kids, man.
Yep. So
yeah. And withstanding another one of my dick jokes. So I think that's a good way. Like a lady without a sports bar, we're gonna bounce out of here.
Sports bra.
What did I say?
Sports bar.
They can bounce out of sports bars too.
But a lady without a sports bar.
They can bounce out of those. They can bounce out.
Well, it's funny because I knew what you were going for, but I was like, yeah, they can.
I didn't.
No.
So this has been another installment of Catching Up with Chris, Jake, and Sam, and I'm just going to bounce. Fuck it. Bye.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake. Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.